Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to The Culture Hack. Today, I have my friend Shannon Mayer with me today. She is the founder of Creative Impact Consulting, and we have been collaborating for a few years now. Welcome, Shannon. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
I appreciate it, Adam. This is always fun to connect with you.
Yeah, we always have such great conversations. But first, before we get into that, tell us about Creative Impact. What are you all about?
Wow, it's evolved over the years. So I came out of a career in human resources, predominantly in the oilfield service sector for many years. And I started Creative Impact 12 years ago. And I can't believe where 12 years has gone. It's wow. But I really wanted to focus on helping leaders develop to be better leaders, leadership effectiveness, and then working with small to mid-sized businesses to help improve their people programs. Really that HR consulting, HR audit, really helping small businesses create programs that create a sense of belonging and effectiveness for their business. So that's really what Creative Impact Consulting has been about. Probably the last 7 years, I've been focused not predominantly on leadership development, but a lot on leadership development with leaders growing into better peak performance and their overall effectiveness. So really leaning into a lot of that training, coaching in the leadership development space. That's been really rewarding.
I love that. It's pretty neat to see people grow and know that you've maybe made a difference in that journey. So
yeah,
fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love what I do. It's been really fun, and it just builds great connection. So yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about engagement then. You have such an interesting perspective, both from your HR life and your leadership life. So, when we talk about engagement in terms of teams and organizations, what comes up for you?
Well, it's a really great question. And the way I like to describe engagement is an individual's level that they're emotionally connected and dedicated to their organization. So if you think about somebody who is highly engaged, they're highly connected to the work they do, probably a lot of alignment in their values, organizational values, and they're generally pretty high performers. And you can really see them embody their work and the commitment, and sometimes even going that above and beyond, because it's just something that they value, and they really espouse those behaviors to really help make a difference. I always like to say, simply put, we're fully engaged when we have an opportunity to do the work we love. We are at an organization that allows us to be included, we're heard, and our needs are being met. And we're having conversations with our manager about those things. So our manager really is integral to our level of engagement. So simply put, it's being somewhere where you love what you do and being able to do it well. And you're feeling pretty supported and the sense of belonging.
I love that, right? That's the dream, right?
Absolutely. That's the holy grail. And I always look at it in a little bit in contrast to job satisfaction. They are a little bit different. And not to say that it's any worse or bad, but we want fully engaged people. But, a level of job satisfaction is also sometimes the place that we want to make sure that we get to as well, because people are doing good work, they like what they do, and they're good performers as well. So yeah, but engagement's that holy grail for sure.
Interesting. I kind of want to unpack that a little bit. So job satisfaction. So is it possible to have low job satisfaction but high engagement, or vice versa?
Well, it's a good question. I would say probably not. Low job satisfaction would create some turmoil, because you would probably lose a lot of motivation. It's difficult, if you're not really enjoying the work that you do, it would be difficult, I think, to be engaged, because engaged people are really they lean in. It's sort of that, you can see it in the behaviors. I always like to say everything we do is really about our behaviors, and I think to be have a job that you're satisfied with, I think or dissatisfied probably would bring down that level of engagement for sure, because there's be some things missing.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. So let's talk about, some stories in your travels, and as you're dealing with clients on the leadership side or the HR side, are there some examples you can share of, some challenges that you've helped coach them through, or some big wins that have happened in your experience?
Yeah. Well, some of the challenges I'm finding with so many of the leaders, people, managers I'm working with, is a lot of time is spent in that firefighting mode. It's that being reactionary to situations that are happening versus trying to be a little more on the forward thinking side and the proactive side. So what we see here is they're spending a lot of time in reaction and firefighting and less time for sufficient conversations and time with their team. So when we think about it from an employee engagement perspective, I think is that, people are, again, aligned to the organization. They love the work they do. They have a feeling of belonging and being heard and being able to do their best work. What I'm finding is a lot of leaders are not spending enough time in the conversations with their team. Statistics has shown that 45% of people actually feel they get enough feedback from their leader. And I know that many of the people that I'm working with, they just don't have enough time to set aside to be forward thinking. That strategic thinking time with themselves. It sounds kind of funny to book that meeting with yourself, but really to be strategic and the right conversations with their team members that really will drive not only engagement, but just really that level of feedback that they need to make sure that things are going the way that they're hoping to, and they're just missing out on that time to do that. So that's one of the things that I'm really noticing they're challenged with. Too much work, too little time, and hard to get control of the calendar to create that space and time. So that's what I'm really noticing are the challenges quite often.
It's amazing how the time problem. So we talk about the whirlwind, and it edges out that space for engagement. And I think when I start talking about culture and engagement, I say, hey, there's an argument that says the more connected people feel, the more they will intelligently address these problems and start becoming proactive. So really, the best thing you could do is focus on engagement, even though it feels like time, is like pulling you elsewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the trap we see so many people fall into, where there's just not even 2 seconds in the day to even think about this stuff, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I've worked with a lot of clients on is, they find that time, that managing that time is really, really critical, but hard to do. And it is hard to do. We're saying yes to so much, and we're not saying no to enough, or at least being able to triage the priorities and the things that we need to spend our time on. I can just share with a conversation I had with one client where he was very open to say, I need to create better high performance in my team. I need to spend that time. I know that that's important, but I literally just don't have it. And the conversation was really about, okay, so what are the things that you need to do to create the things that you want with your team? So, and it really came down to making a decision that, for me to be proactive in creating, performance and set direction and engagement and be with my team, I need to take the time. So it really is. So where do you feel you need to focus your time? What's most important to create the outcome you want? Right.
And so it is really hard. I always say time management is really choice and priority management when you really boil it down. And those are some of the things that, I've been helping a lot of my clients work through, is taking that time.
I love that. It's not time problem, it's a priority problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you can shift your mind to wrap around that a little bit, then amazing things can happen. So let's look to the future. What do you see for the future of organizations and leadership, right? We've got a lot of things happening. The metaverse is starting to show up. We've got AI just exploded in a big way this year. What are you seeing for the future for businesses in addressing engagement and culture in their organizations?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, to drive engagement, I really believe that doesn't happen by chance. It happens through intentional and dedicated conversations with our team members. So, we just can't think that, just showing up and having the odd conversation or just hoping that engagement will happen. It does require commitment. It really does. And I always like to say is that these behaviors will shift when we're starting to have the real conversations with our employees. I always kind of call them the below the neck conversations, the ones that are real, not the ones that are a little too high level, because again, it's that, are we feeling heard? Are we being included? Are we growing? Are we getting what we need from our organization? Well, a needs conversation and a growth conversation just can't happen by chance. It does require intentionality. So I'm a big believer in the right conversations and leaders taking time for that. And, one of the things too is just even career and development and growth conversations. A lot of leaders kind of find it hard to have those, how do I have that right conversation? How do I tap into that? So big believer in conversation. One of the things I can share, just a few things that I know some of my clients are taking away to work on that with their team members over the next, year or, in the immediate future, is really taking times to have more dedicated that one-on-one time. And really sometimes it's about talking about the experience of the work, not just the work. We find that we're doing a lot of, work and status updates, which is great. We want to make sure that our projects and work's on track. But if we can shift that a little bit to talk about the experience of the work, and that's where it's an opportunity to add those little coaching and teaching moments, then we can start to create more awareness, performance, and engagement through that. And people always like that line of sight, that the work that they're doing is actually contributing towards the greater mission and vision of the organization. So creating measurable goals, things that they can see are really tied to the bigger organizational mission, I think is really important to drive engagement. In mentioning that those needs conversations, like really that below the neck, having, might not be, a regular conversation, but just tapping into what do they think about their work? Are they getting what they need? Do they feel they have the right growth and challenge? Where do people see themselves? Because we all have needs. And when our needs are being met at work by our manager, our organization, and the work we do, then our engagement should certainly soar, right? And then lastly is supporting well-being. So we hear a lot about that, and the pandemic sort of drove all of that about well-being, but really it comes down to recognizing burnout, supporting well-being, and we all need different things for well-being. And sometimes it's hard to manage that when we're just so busy, there's a lot of work to do, but really about supporting the well-being in our people, because they're really starting to look to us for that. People do want balance, and they do want to have healthy lifestyles, and they really do want to not be so burnt out per se, and really feel like they have an organization that supports them. So helps build confidence, helps build well-being. And so I think those are some 4 key areas that I know are takeaways with the clients that I'm working with.
Okay, amazing. So below the net conversations, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for your time. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Adam, for this opportunity. I love this conversation and this topic, so happy to join in this today. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.